Dear students, hope you are all well. So today we will begin with a chapter in EVS part 1. Now, what's our basic need? Yes, our basic need is food, clothing, and shelter. So, today we will be learning about how and from where do we get one of these basic needs, which is the most important of all, and without which we all cannot survive. So, today's topic is food for all. Let's move forward. Now let me ask you few questions. Which vegetables and fruits do we get around this time? And which parts of plants do we use as food? Yes, we eat mangoes, grapes, corn, watermelon, peas, beans, etc. during this season. And the different parts of plants we use as food as are seeds, roots, stems, leaves, flowers and fruits as you can see in the picture. Means we eat all the different parts of the plants in the form of fruits and vegetables. Like in seeds, we eat peas, groundnuts, mustard. In roots, we eat beetroot, radish, carrot. In stems, we eat ginger, potato. They are the stems of the plants. And in leaves, we eat all different leafy vegetables like spinach, cabbage. In flowers, we eat cauliflower and different other flowers in the form of fruits and vegetables. Let's move forward. So now we know that we get food from plants, and to get this food, as you can see in the picture, we sow grains in the field. In the first picture you can see we sow grains in the field and plant fruit trees in orchards. So do you know about 60% of our land of our country is used for agriculture. Okay, let's move forward. Next is agricultural seasons. As we have different seasons like the summer season, rainy season, and the winter season. Similarly, for agriculture, too, we have different seasons. They are called as Kharif season and Rabi season. So Kharif season starts from June to October. As you can see in the slide, it starts from June to October is called the Kharif season. Now in this, the crops are watered mainly by the rain. You don't have to water. For example, which all crops come under Kharif season? They are rice, cotton, maize, groundnut, etc. Then the next season is called the Rabi season. Now this season is from October to March is the Rabi season. In this season, rainwater that has soaked into the soil and the retreating monsoons and dewdrops are the sources of water for the crops. So in this season, the rainwater which has fallen and which is soaked in the ground, that water is used for the crops. Now what are the examples of rabi crops? For example, peas, wheat, gram, barley are the different rabi crops. Let's move forward. Then the next is summer crops. Now some crops grow from March to June. Okay, they are called as summer crops. For example, beans, melons, cucumbers, corn, tomatoes, etc. are the different example of summer crops. So summer crops are grown from March to June. They are called as summer crops. Let's move forward. Now look at the picture. Can you tell me which is the season for growing rice? Which is the season for growing rice? Yes, rice crop is grown during the rainy season. Why? Because it requires a lot of water. Let's move forward. Next is agricultural work. Now, do you know how difficult is the life of the farmer? The life of the farmer is very difficult. And what is his wish? His wish every day is every farmer wishes to get a good harvest. That means to get good crops, because a good harvest means good income. If you get good harvest, that means you will get good money for your crops. So now, what all are the requirements for a good harvest? What all things you need for good harvest? So good harvest needs fertile land, good quality seeds, fertilizers, and availability of water. So what does a good harvest need? Fertile land, good quality seeds, fertilizers, and availability of water. These things are very important for a good harvest. Let's move forward. Tilling a land is a necessary task for farmers. It means to prepare land for the raising of crops by applying and harvesting to cultivate. Now, the crop in the field must be protected, right? The crops in the field must be protected. And the harvested crop must also be stored safely. Now, after the crops growing, you have to keep those crops safely. All of these processes are important for a good harvest. Now, all this process has to go step by step. Okay, all of these processes are important for a good harvest. Let's move forward. Now, there are different ways in which agriculture is carried out. Okay, the first is the traditional way of agriculture. Now, in the traditional methods of agriculture, plowing, tilling, etc., are done with the help of oxen. Then you can see a moth. What is a moth? A moth means a huge leather bag driven with the help of oxen was used to draw water from the well. So in the traditional agriculture, a moth was used where they used to tie a leather bag to the oxen to remove water from the well. Okay, let's move forward. Now look at the different pictures on the screen. Harvesting, threshing, etc. was done by the members of the farmer's family. So all this work, the harvesting, threshing, all was done by the members of the farmer's family themselves with the help of the oxen. Okay, let's move forward. Now, farmers carry out all these tasks with the help of different machines. Now, as you know, in the farm, you need to use machines. So, the farmers carry out all these tasks with the help of different machines like the tractors, right? To carry out all the tasks in the farm. Let's move forward. Next is improved methods of agriculture. We have just learned about different traditional methods. Just now we just learned about different traditional methods. But the population of our country is increasing day by day. As you know, our population is going on increasing, and still the needs of all the people are being met. That means all the people are getting the required food. This has been possible only because of the modern methods of agriculture. This is only possible because of the modern methods of agriculture. Because of the modern methods, the work is being done faster. There are different improved methods of agriculture. They are as follows. We will see the different methods of agriculture, improved methods of agriculture. The first one is improved seeds. Okay. Then there are two methods of irrigation. Then the third is use of fertilizers. Fourth is protection of crops. And then the last one is storage of grains. We will learn in detail about all these points. Okay. Let's move forward. The first one is improved seeds. Now earlier the seeds of one harvest was preserved for sowing in the next season, and those seeds did not have a high yield. That means before the seeds of one harvest of one season was kept for the next season, but you cannot keep it for the next season because they will not give you good crops. But nowadays, improved seeds are developed through research. They are available in the market for every crop. Nowadays, you get improved seeds in the market. Okay, they are available for every crop, such as jawar, rice, groundnut, wheat, etc. And they give you a high yield. They give you good crops. They resist pest attacks. That means they fight against different disease, which this improved seeds, which you get in the market. Okay. Some varieties become ripe for harvesting in a shorter period of time. There are different varieties of seeds, right? So some varieties get ripe faster. Some crops get ripe faster, while some give a high yield even with low water supply. That means some varieties are like that if you put less water also they will grow. Okay. Let's move forward. Next is irrigation. We know that all plants need water, right? Water is very important. Crops grow well if they are watered at the right time. Crops grow well if they are watered at the right time. You need to water the plant. You only can't grow the crop. You need to water it time to time. Now, water from rivers, lakes, and wells is used for irrigation. In addition to rainwater, the rainwater falls, but in addition to that, when it's not raining, from where does the farmer use water? From the rivers, lakes, and wells. The greater quantities of waters are stored by building dams and bunds on river to obstruct the flow of water downstream. Now the greater quantities of waters are stored in dams. Now you can see in dams and bunds there is lot of water stored as compared to river, lakes and ponds, okay, or wells. In that there is water, but there is less quantity of water. But greater quantity of water is stored in dams and bunds. Okay, and this also helps to raise the level of groundwater. Let's move forward. Now look at the different pictures of canals on the screen. Crops were traditionally watered through canals. That means in the traditional agriculture, crops were watered through canals. Okay. But much of the water from the canals is lost due to evaporation and seepage into the ground. And in the traditional method, they used to water plants through canals. But what used to happen? The water used to get wasted a lot. So nowadays farmers use the modern methods of irrigation. Before they used to water crops from the canals, but now they use modern methods of irrigation. We'll see which are those modern methods. Now, improved methods of irrigation are used, right? Which provide enough water to the plants. Now, to water the plants, you need to water enough water to the plants. You can't water a lot to the plants, okay? And at the same time, helps to save a lot of water. So, there are two methods. They are drip irrigation and sprinkle irrigation are the two of these methods, modern methods, okay? The first is drip irrigation. Now let us see what is in drip irrigation. Okay, this method, look at the first one. This method make use of pipes with holes. So in this method, as you can see in the picture, there is a long pipe and there are holes in that, small holes. So required amount of water is dripping. Okay, as you can see in the picture, this ensures that the required amount of water drips only near the plant. So if you make a small hole, that much only water will come out from that pipe. Okay, thus full use is made of the available water. Okay, next is sprinkle irrigation. Now look at the picture. It makes use of sprinklers. Can you see that? That's a sprinkler in the picture. Okay. It makes use of sprinklers of different sizes that spray water directly on the plants. Okay. That sprinklers spray water on the plants directly. Okay. Let's move forward. Now, students, do you know that if the same crops are repeatedly in the field, are grown repeatedly in the same place, what happens? The fertility of the soil decreases. That means whatever the nutritive value of the soil is there, it decreases. Why? Because the soil is being used again and again. What is the reason behind it? Why does the fertility of the soil decreases? The answer is it decreases because the plants use the nutrients from the soil. Once you grow the plant is using that nutrient. So again you grow in the same plant, the nutritive value is decreased. Okay, for its growth. So the nutrients in the soil gets depleted. That means it decreases. And then we have to add fertilizers to the soil. Right? So in that same place where the tree is grown or where the plant is grown, you have to add some fertilizers to the soil to restore its to restore its productivity and to provide the required nutrients to the new crop. So what you'll have to do, put some fertilizers to that crop. Okay, that will be grown during the next season. So there are two kinds of fertilizers. There are two different kinds of fertilizers. They are natural and chemical fertilizers. Let's move forward. Natural fertilizers are also called as manures. Okay, they are also called as manures, which we get from materials available in nature. Now, what are manures? Materials which are available in nature. Like, for example, green waste. When we cut the leafy vegetable, the waste vegetable, that is called the green waste, and animal dung. Look at the different pictures of manures. Okay, let's move forward. The next is chemical or artificial fertilizers. Okay, chemical or artificial fertilizers. These fertilizers are the mixtures of different chemical substances. Now, in the chemical fertilizers, there are different mixtures of chemicals substances in specific proportion, and they are useful for agriculture to give higher yield. These are chemical fertilizers. What are chemical fertilizers? Chemical fertilizers are the fertilizers where there are mixture of different chemical substances in specific proportion. Okay, and they are useful for agriculture to give higher yield. They are useful to grow the crops. Then the natural fertilizers. In traditional agriculture, organic manure such as compost were used. That means all the natural things, just now as I told you, all the green waste, the animal dung, these all come under natural fertilizers. Let's move forward. Students, as we all know that natural things are always better, right? We always know that natural things are always better than the artificial ones, right? Similarly, manures are better than the chemical or artificial fertilizers. Similarly, in this manures, which is better, the chemical fertilizers or the natural fertilizers? The natural fertilizers. Why? We are getting it from nature, and chemical fertilizers, chemicals are being added to it. Okay. from nature. So the overuse of chemical fertilizers, overuse means if you use more of chemical fertilizers, it leads to accumulation of excessive chemicals in the soil. Okay, if you put lots of fertilizers in the soil, it reduces its fertility of the soil, then that soil doesn't be rich for growing. Okay, it lowers the fertility of soil and reduces its productivity also. That means you will not get good crops if you put more of chemical fertilizers. So instead you can use natural fertilizers because you get it from nature. There are no chemicals added in the natural fertilizers. Let's move forward. Now, as you know, that everything in limit is good, right? Right? Like if you overeat, you will put on weight, right? If you overeat, you will put on weight. And that is not good for health. That is not good for our health. Similarly, for the plants, overwatering makes the land saline and fallow. Saline means salty, which is not good for the crops. Saline means contains insoluble salt, which injure the plants. And fallow is a land which is normally used for farming but left with no crops. Where the land, as you can see in the second picture, the land gets white in color and you cannot grow crops. It's not good for growing crops, which is normally used for farming. Okay, on this type of problem is seen especially in the parts where water is available in plenty. Now where will you see this problem? Mostly you can see the second picture. Now that place is a place where there is water continuously. You will see where water, mostly near the river banks, right, near the dams, that there is water over there, right? And you can't grow crops over there. For example, the plants grow near dams or river banks. And if land becomes saline and fallow, it has to be tested to find out which substances it lacks so that the fertility can be restored by adding those substances. But it is a costly and time consuming procedure. Therefore, it is better to avoid excessive use of fertilizers and water. So as the land get fallow, you have to test it and it takes lots of time. So what you have to do is you have to not add lots of fertilizer so that the soil doesn't get destroyed or its fertility doesn't get destroyed. Okay, let's move forward. Now we all know that farmers work hard in the fields, right? To cultivate the crops and to keep the crops safely is also very important task for a farmer because disease and pest attacks can damage the crops in the field. Now there are different disease for the plants also. You might be seeing there are some white particles which come on the plants. So that are a disease for the plants, right? So you have to also take care of that to see that the crops grow safely. Okay, let's move forward. We protect the crops as a remedy. Okay, we protect the crops as a remedy. What's the remedy? Insecticides and pesticides are sprayed on the crops, or certain chemicals are rubbed on the seeds before sowing. That means there are certain remedies. When you grow the crops, there are some insecticides and pesticides which you get that are being sprayed on the crops, or certain chemicals before you sow the seeds are being rubbed to the seeds and then they are sown. Okay, let's move forward. Next is storage of grains. Storing the harvest crop safely is as important as increasing the production. That means after growing the crops also you need to store the grains safely. The grain is what all procedure is being done in this. The grain is dried well in the sun. So when the crop is grown, the grain is dried well in the sun and filled in sacks so that it lasts longer, because drying is a process which removes the moisture content from the crops and preserves it longer. So what is the procedure? It is being dried in the sun. Okay, so any moisture if is there, that comes out. The sacks are then stocked in the house and after selling, stocked in warehouses or shops. As you can see in the picture, after that procedure of drying the grains, they are they are put in the sacks and stored in the warehouses or shops. Let's move forward. After storage also, there is a problem. That means after storing the grains also in the warehouses, there are some problems. What are those? They can be damaged in two ways. Like mice, rats and insects, they can spoil the grain to a great extent. To a great extent. Okay. These mice, rats and all, they can spoil the grains. So what you have to do, also if the grain is stored in a closed and damp space, that means this mice, rats, they also spoil the grains. And there is another way. If you store the grains in a damp space where that place is a bit wet, so with that also the grains can get spoiled. It catches fungus and becomes unfit for eating, and you can't eat those wet grains. Can you eat those wet grains? No. Okay. Let's move forward. Now, how to prevent crops from such damage? How will you prevent the crops from such damage? For this, chemicals are sprayed at the place of storage. That means wherever these sacks are kept, chemicals are being sprayed in that place. There is another method also. Neem leaves are mixed in the grain. That means before packing the sacks, there are neem leaves put into the grains. Okay. And some protective chemicals are also mixed with the grains. Okay, some other chemicals are also mixed with the grains, and their smell repels the insects. So that smells, that chemicals, when the mice or the rats get, they do not come there. It repels the insect. Storage places are always kept dry and airy to prevent fungus formation. The storage places, storing of grains, these places are kept very dry. It has to be very dry and airy. Airy means windows should be for the outside air to come in, so that it prevents from the fungus formation. Let's move forward. That's your homework. The first question is, the season from June to October is called the dash. Next is, overwatering makes the land dash and dash. Then the next is, describe the drip irrigation method. And the last one is, what methods are used to preserve food grain? That's all for now. We will learn the next part of the lesson in the next video. Thank you for listening, children. Goodbye. Take care.